do you see is the future solution for housing in Austin?
Well, I was having a conversation on my way into the studio this morning about the linkage fees. And the linkage fee concept, which the council is going to be digging into further, puts a small fee like $1 or $2 on each square foot of, for example, commercial property that is developed over a time frame, let's say a year. And let's say in a year we build 60 million square feet of commercial in Austin, which we have been doing. So that would be on a 1%, $1 fee, $60 million. Put that into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That fund would grow really quickly. We could use that money to buy land through our land trust approach, and in our neighborhood preservation districts, which is a third tool that we have explored and are looking at to try to buy down the cost of the dirt, because that's really the expensive piece, so that people can buy a home on there. They wouldn't own the land itself, they would own the structure, so there would be some equity investment in that, and when they sell it, they can get the equity off of the structure. So back to the linkage fee, I think that provides us with a real good opportunity to look at ways that are a little bit different from either adding fees or user fees, or or shifting money like we've done in the past, which I did not support when I realized what we were doing, moving, for example, millions of dollars out of our water fund, our water department, Austin Water Utility, over to affordable housing to buy down, in this case it was market rate housing. And so we really need to be very strategic and surgical in how we use city funds. They're tax revenues, they come from the voters and the taxpayers. So I'm looking for money that would not rob from Peter to pay Paul, for example.
What would you say to somebody who says, how are you going to make it more affordable by adding a fee on top of?
Well, that would be that'd be on the developer, on the development.
But they have to recoup their money somehow.
Right, but when they write up their pro formas, what development wants, what developers are looking for, and their investors are what's the predictable cost at the front end. Then they can craft their financing around the amount of money that they're going to need to pay in order to get the profit at the end of the investment timeline. So that's all part of the conversation that goes on ahead of time. And I've been told repeatedly by developers, please simply make it predictable. If you're going to charge something, let's have it at the front end so that we know going in that we're going to have to accommodate it and account for it, and then we're good to go. And I'm not saying that everybody would just lie down and accept it. We need to have a community public conversation about it. But I am getting real positive signals from the affordable housing community and also from the development community that this is a real interesting concept, and it has some possibilities, and so I'm looking to dig into that.
What about the land development code? Streamlining that in order to make it easier for developers to build.
We are looking at rewriting the land development code. As you know, Code Next is the rewrite of that code. It hasn't been done in years. We will get a draft in January probably, and then we'll engage the community for them to understand what's in it. It will set the blueprint for what Austin looks like and how it develops into the far distant future. So we really have to get it right. I don't yet know what all the elements will be or which way we will go. Generally speaking though, basing it on our comprehensive plan that exists currently, Imagine Austin, we are looking at densifying our corridors. So we need to make sure that we are adequately identifying where those corridors are, and then how far away from the corridor are we going to expect density. Now where those intersect with neighborhoods, either old neighborhoods or new, people living there bought there not expecting that they would be consumed by a commercial property development. They may know it's on the back side of their fence, for example, and they may be all right with that, but then if they see that it's moving in next door to them or on the corner, they're going to want to know, what is that all about? So if that's how we densify in Austin, we really have to engage that conversation with everyone in the city and make sure that expectations, that people's expectations are met and acknowledged. And my goal as a council member is to move change at a pace that can accommodate everyone. It's a better idea, I think, to bring everyone along with us when we go for changes to how we do business or what the city is going to look like. And I think a natural evolution is a real strong foundational precept for many of the folks who do city planning.
we hear it all the time. People want Austin to stay Austin. They don't want it to become San Antonio or Houston. There's perhaps maybe been some resistance to change, but do you think the people of Austin are going to have to accept some kind of change? You know, the Austin we've had for the past 50 years is not going to be the one we can have for the next 50 years in terms of development and things like that.
Well, sure, and I just described a way that natural evolution, that organic evolution would occur. And I moved here 36 years ago, it was 1980, and there has been a heck of a lot of change in the 36 years that I've lived here, including my daughter being born and growing up and going to the public schools in Austin and graduating and then moving off to a much bigger city, up to New York City. So I think the key to it, John, is how fast are you doing it, and how informed are the residents and the community about what your intentions are. And my goal is to make sure that the pace is such that people can keep up, that we don't outstrip the community in moving so fast that we leave them behind, because this is their town. And it's not, I don't see my job on the council as to completely remake the city without including our residents in that conversation.
Housing and traffic are kind of intertwined, and the two are related. So how do we go about tackling the traffic issue here in Austin?
Sure, and that's another really good question, and a big question in front of the Austin voters for the ballot on November 8, and that is Proposition 1, which on November 8 is the mobility bond, and I support that bond, and I'm talking about how the elements of it, there are 3 buckets. We have the active transportation, which is the smaller local projects. We have the corridor projects will have a big benefit to District 7, primarily on Burnett Road, which has been being planned and designed for a long time. It has received funding from previous bonds in the past, I think 2006 and 2012, and that's why it's far enough along so that the money that we will be looking at from this bond will have real good effect. We're talking, and also North Lamar, just talking about the north part of Austin, although there are some projects in South Austin, East and West, and then we have the regional mobility projects as well. But just to get back to the corridor projects, to ease traffic and to smooth the ride, we're looking at bus cutouts, so that the buses, it'll be safer for the buses to pull out when they bring on and let off passengers. We're looking at protected bike lanes, so there's separation between vehicles and bikers, bicyclists and pedestrians, and ADA compliant sidewalks. I'm also real interested in doing more at our transit stops. There's some conversation in the community about making them little pocket parks and pushing the stop itself back from the street edge so that it's safer, more friendly, and then maybe more welcoming to encourage people to use transit.
I know that you are very much interested in environmental issues. How do you balance that and wanting to be a clean city and an environmentally conscious city with the affordability question in Austin as well?
Well, of course, the best scenario is to live near where you work, to live near where...
A lot of people can't afford to do that.
Oh, absolutely, and it's taken a long time for me even to be able to afford to live closer to downtown, which is where I've always worked in the 36 years I've lived here. But I think the goal is to provide choices for folks so that if they want to live in a smaller unit, if they want a larger home with a yard. I personally wanted to have a yard for my daughter when she was growing up so she could play outside, so I could plant a garden. We do a lot of gardening, and it's flowers, of course, but we actually raise tomatoes and basil, and we have a food garden. And I needed to have, I needed space in a yard to be able to do that, and there's a lot of folks in Austin who get a lot of benefit from working outside. So I think we work real hard to try to find ways to reduce costs for folks. There's not just one solution. There's a whole array of different approaches. The homestead exemption, for example, that I supported, first ever for the city of Austin, it's up to 8% now, and that sends a strong signal to our homeowners in Austin, and there are plenty of them, that we want them to be able to afford to stay here too. So that's part of the array of tools that this council has crafted in order to encourage people to stay. And then one last piece that I would say, I encourage businesses and firms when they move to Austin, please look at our local talent pool. We have tremendous folks graduating from our schools here, our public schools and our colleges and universities and our tech training centers, and we have a lot of job training for workforce development going on, and we've got the best workforce anywhere in the country. And I challenge new employers who are coming to Austin to hire locally, to hire the folks who already live here so that they can also sustain staying here and prosper as well.
All right, well, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.